Sporting Globe and...
No.
You cannot be serious!
This is the third segment, part of Sam, Mike and Don, You Cannot Be Serious. And that's the first thing that we're doing that's different. And the second thing is we haven't had a repeat guest on ever since we've been doing this. But have a guess who's sitting opposite now, the very mercurial.
Alice Costa?
Very mercurial.
No, not Alice Costa.
Oh, very good, Don.
Not Alice Costa. This is a woman, a female who's been on before, and she writes...
Alice Costa is a female. Alice Costa's a female.
Well, I'll take that on advisement, Mick. I've never seen her. If you say she's a female, I'm not sure.
Do you think she was Alice Cooper or someone, did
She
you?
could well be. If she had a snake wrapped around her neck, she might be. Anyhow, this is not Alice Costa. Is that her name, Alice?
Yes, it is.
This is Fiona Byrne from the Herald Sun, and she is affectionately known as the Gossip Queen, but she covers all aspects. And I originally wanted her on here to tell us why the Logies have been... Well, I know why they've been cancelled. Have they bitten the dust altogether? And who was up for nominations? And they're almost an anachronism, the Logies, I think, because there's so many people you've never heard of win them.
Is this a question or an introduction?
This is Fiona Byrne, so welcome again.
Sam, thank you, Sam. Mike, Don,
That's all
hello.
right.
Hello,
How are you
Fiona.
all?
Now, my first question is just, this was...
Don't touch the microphone.
This was the...
Hands up.
This was the excuse for getting you on, Fiona, is what happened to the Logies this year, and are they're going to dribble out, or what's going to happen?
Well, Sam, I thought it was unusual that you were asking me to come in and speak about the Logies because from my experience, you actually hate the Logies. And
This is not about me.
It's
this
always
is just
about
what
you.
we think might be.
it's always
well
about you.
done.
Good call.
But you did spend, from my recollection again, you spent many years loathing doing the Logies red carpet and being there. So when you said come and talk about the Logies, I thought, this is interesting. But to answer your question, what's going on?
I wanted to answer the question, Fiona,
The
please.
event has been cancelled this year, and I think that's a shame. The event moved to Queensland 2 years ago. This would have been its third
That was a
year.
disaster.
No, it actually wasn't. It was really great. I've been both years. It's been a very good event. But in terms of having an event this year, it was impossible to do a gala celebration of the industry when you have the COVID restrictions in place. So it was
obviously
initially decided, the first thought was, well, we'll just do it without the event itself. We'll just announce the winners via a broadcast of some description, and then the Logies are actually pretty much paid for these days by Queensland Tourism.
Yes.
And
So they bought
to get
them.
value out of that, they need an event. They need celebrities on the ground, on the Gold Coast, being seen, being involved. And so it was not possible to do that.
Fiona, the Logies decided by viewer vote, is that right?
Yes, they are. But there has been a change. So this year would have been the first year where certain changes were implemented, whereby instead of the public voting on the first round to actually get the final nominees in each category, what was going to happen was an industry panel plus ratings data would work out those final nominations or those nominees in each category, as opposed to the general public voting on that.
What happens in America with their Oscars and is it public or is it the industry?
That's actually, Mike, that's a great question, and I do not have the answer to that off the top of my head, I'm afraid.
No, it's a panel.
It's a panel, isn't
Industry panel,
in
isn't
America?
Yep.
it? A panel within the industry for the academies?
Yes. Well, it's a panel, yes.
But, Mike, in terms of the Logies, there's two different divisions in the Logies. There's the most outstanding, which is an industry panels, plural, that select those winners, and then you've got the popular vote, and that is voted by the
And
public.
that's rigged and manipulated.
I would say with that is...
Well, it is.
No, I think
No,
the
you have
reality is
people-
in this day and age, it's about if you want it. If you are prepared to campaign and go hard and bring your people together, you're going to do better in those public voted categories than you would if you just sit there and go, well, I don't care and I'm not going to participate.
Don't the ground staff and the support teams of the people who they are nominated, don't they just sit on the phone and ring or just send it? They swamp it with bogus votes, don't they?
There's absolutely no question when it used to be a physical form that you had to fill in. there's no question publicity departments used to spend
Yes.
an inordinate amount of time
Correct.
filling in
So it's rigged.
categories.
Manipulated.
I'm not using the word rigged.
No, I am.
You can. But I call it vested interest. If you want to do well, if it means something to you to be part of the
Yes.
Logies, if it means something to you to have a Logie award, you need to campaign. You need to get people behind you to vote for you.
So hence, now I'm asking you this question. So there's some pretty lacklustre people who've won gold Logies over the past who are hardly people have ever heard of.
Like?
I can't think of them because can't think of them because they're.
Well, how do you know that lacklustre people have won
Because
it?
you think I remember a couple of years ago someone said I'd never heard of that person. Who was it? No, I'd heard of.
Was it Tom Gleeson, was it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I'd never heard of. No, it wasn't him. It was someone I'd never heard of won a gold Logie, and I couldn't remember who it was.
Is Australia the only place that recognises their television industry instead of the film industry?
No, there's film awards all over the world.
I know there's
beg your
film
pardon,
award-
there's TV awards all over the world.
Is there?
You know, a lot of people are really negative towards the Logies and they like to smash them and say how ridiculous and pointless they are. I don't see that there's a problem celebrating the entertainment industry, the TV industry.
No.
I really don't. I think
No,
it's
I
a
don't.
good thing.
So do I.
I think the sort of potting the Logies has become a sport over the years. You know, it's almost cool to hate them or to use them as the butt of a joke. But if you get rid of the Logies, what have you got left as a
that's-
reason to bring the industry together and allow people to actually
that's
celebrate
fair
their
enough.
successes?
That's fair enough, Fiona. But the way that it's run, for a start, you have completely nondescript people getting up and speaking for a quarter of an hour and thanking everyone that's ever been born on the planet, which makes it so boring. Half the tables, the people are out in the bloody latrines doing drugs. When they come back... What?
Were you doing drugs?
Good question, Don.
Not for the first few years, but
But
in the
you
end,
did
it's
do
the
it.
only way you could get through it. And so I've
So
never
you
been,
were sniffing coke
No,
out
I've
in the
never
toilets. So that
Don,
explains your
I've
behaviour.
Never I've said this many times about cocaine. I don't take it, but I do like the smell of it. So sometimes I've had a sniff of it just to see if it smells okay. But that's a joke, Don. So Fiona,
Tell me about your street talk, because you did street talk a few years ago. Well, a few years ago
plenty street
at the
talks.
Logies.
Were you pissed at that night?
We started off doing the street talk at the Logies, and then every bastard, every person and their dog decided to jump on, making it a complete mockery of what we used to do, and so they cancelled it. So they stopped everyone doing it.
Mike had a good question there.
What's that?
Were you inebriated that night?
I would hope so.
No, were you?
I
Were
think
you or not?
probably, yes. I think so.
I think you were.
No, I think I was. No, I'm very happy to.
It was a good imitation.
Yeah, no, it was a good imitation. Then we got Brendan Favola to do it another year, and he completely went to the next level.
What, you mean he combined two things, alcohol and drugs? Or?
Oh no, I don't know if he combined drugs.
okay.
I don't know
Hey,
about
so-
the drugs.
I was going to
Fiona?
say, Sam, were you banned from doing street talk at the Logies?
Yeah, absolutely. We were. Everyone was. Everyone was. We did some fantastic street talks at the Logies, and people who we spoke to used to love being spoken to because they used to try and send us up more than we tried to send them up. And then everyone, all the other networks and all the other radio stations and all the people who'd come from interstate with microphones and go and see if you could one-up someone for being stupid and more irreverent. And then they said, well, it's just ridiculous. So they banned everyone.
Where else were you banned from doing street talk?
No one that I
Channel
That's right.
9?
No, I was never banned from anywhere. Never banned from anywhere. Not that I know of, unless you know something that I don't.
Tell me how did the credibility of the Logies go when Tom Gleeson was able to get Grant Denyer up, right? In a mocking sense, he just campaigned for him derisively and got him up, and then Gleeson, who derided the Logies day after day, won the award the following year.
It comes down to campaigning, and I don't necessarily think Tom's ruined the Logies. I think he showed with his tongue pretty firmly in his cheek that you just need to put together a good campaign and get attention. And without question, Mike, the attention that Tom Gleeson brought to the Logies and to his run or desire to win a gold Logie, that helped other ABC talent take home Logie Awards on the night, because to vote for a gold Logie person, you actually need to vote for all the other popular categories before you can cast your vote at the end of that chain, that email chain, to cast your vote for the gold Logie person who you're interested in supporting. And I really think that we saw last year, because Tom had brought a whole lot of people to that Logies forum who perhaps never had bothered to vote before or weren't interested in voting before, suddenly they were interested in voting. And to get to his box, to tick his box, they went through and they ticked Costa's box and they ticked someone else's box.
So that's rigged.
I'm not calling it rigged. I just think it's all about getting people invested and getting them motivated to
So it's manipulated.
Of course it's manipulated.
I see. So the popular vote is manipulated to actually have someone win an award that probably no one is really interested in.
If you're interested...
No, the people aren't interested in the person winning it.
What's the difference between that and politics? It's about campaigning.
No, there's nothing, Fiona. But so that's my critique, if you like, of the Logies. So this year... I know it didn't go ahead because of the Wuhan Chinese coronavirus, but why? Who was going to be nominated this year? Did we get down to the fact that the categories and who was up for the gold Logie and who was going to win the best, I don't know what awards there are these days, but best...
The pin was pulled before we even had the nominations.
Before we even got started, I see.
The whole process was stopped really before it started. They had announced the date, they had announced the changes to the voting system, they'd announced a couple of new categories, and then it disappeared.
In your professional opinion, before they were, the plug was pulled, the pin was pulled out of the Logies, who was going to be, what great shows are on the television on free-to-air, although I think... cable television's on now, isn't it? What free-to-air television's a pretty lacklustre bunch of shows going on at the minute, isn't it?
The free-to-air is risk-adverse, and more so these days than ever. And from my position, I see that there is just the same faces being put into multiple shows because they are considered to be good bets. And they safe. And, you find a lot of crossover between radio performers and television hosts, and that's also because they can bring a second audience to them, or they can bring an audience that's already interested and aware of them.
So are they successful generally or not? Because I wouldn't think the ratings would show most of them are successful, would they?
At the moment, the ratings are pretty good on free-to-air, and part of that is because there's been a spike with the corona shutdown that we've had, meaning that there's people at home on couches, not out. So more families watching television, and that free-to-air, particularly that 7:30 free-to-air
watching stuff
space.
like Gogglebox,
MasterChef, The Voice,
Almighty.
Lego
MasterChef. If we see one more cooking show or one more reality show, or Big Brother's back, is it?
Yes.
Seriously.
Poor Don, I'm sorry. Don, I'm
us?
boring you with this. I
don't watch free-to-air, so this is all fascinating.
But Don, there's a show, Fiona mentioned it, Lego Masters. Now, I haven't seen it, but my understanding is you watch people play with Lego for an hour and a half. Grown-up people play with Lego for an hour and a half.
Yes, and it's definitely been the number one show of the year so far.
Well, my grandson...
That.
No, hang on.
Exactly, Mick.
My grandson...
BattleBots.
Can I say that my grandson actually watches that? It's taped for him.
He's 5 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, but Lego is big with children. You've got no idea.
These are grown-ups playing this game.
Well, Don used to get home and open the Legos. And then play with... Play with them. That's what you used to do. Don often said, I went home and opened the Legos. Or
Fiona,
someone's.
Am I supposed to know what that means?
No.
I don't know.
Hey, Fiona, what's the difference between Fiona Byrne and Alice Costa?
Well, Alice does the column page 13 on a Saturday,
Yeah.
and I do a column on a Sunday paper. I don't know that there's a lot of difference. I think
What do
the
you
reality
think
is
the
there's
difference
just
is,
different people sitting in different mastheads.
What about you, Mick? What do you think the difference between Fiona and Alice are?
But I will say I have always been entertainment focused, and so I do I guess I sort of straddle a line between an entertainment and TV
Yeah.
and celebrity reporter.
Right.
You'd
Less
rather
so-
Alice come on than Fiona.
No,
less
don't
so
say
these-
that.
No,
I'm
less
said
so
it
these
was a
days
question.
than more sort of general news stories.
No, I accept
so-
that. I think Alice has got an edge, hasn't she?
Well, I think she's done very well. She's working under a masthead that, that's a tough job that she's got. And there's, you've got to have a certain amount of resilience and character to do that, because if you're sitting on a column that, can really get up people's noses, you have to also be prepared to take a lot of flack coming back at you.
Yeah.
And you do need to be a strong person to do that. And she is. And she's done very well to build that column over the last few years. It's definitely not an easy job. And
No, I agree.
I think there's a perception that with newspaper columnists, anyone can do it. And the reality is they can't. It's not an easy job. You've got to kind of keep a lot of balls in the air, and you've got to make sure that, if you're writing a story one day about something somebody does not want to speak about, or something that, is that they find very personal or very, invasive, you've somehow or rather got to give them, make sure that you're able to get on the phone to them the next day to speak to them about a different issue. It's not an easy line to walk.
No, I've been down that path. Not as a gossip columnist, but in terms of writing critical things about people and then having to front them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you're asking where I sit, and I always have, I've been doing these columns since 2001, but I've always sat probably more towards the TV and entertainment and celebrity side
I want
of
to
things.
ask you one more thing on the journalistic side. Do you harbour any ambitions to be like a reporter in the sense of covering daily news, or are you happy?
I did that when I was younger, and it was, and I think it's a newspapers. When I was starting out, it was about opportunity, and so I was a general news reporter. I had an interest in horse racing, and I had an interest in entertainment, and both of those opportunities, opened up to me. And there came a point where there was a chance to go and work on the TV guide with Robert Fidgen, and I took that, and because that sitting in that space with entertainment and celebrity, that was around the late 90s, and I went to New Idea for a brief moment and came back to start work on the Sunday Herald Sun column and social pages in 2001. And really at that point, there was a great opportunity to knit that celebrity element that was kind of the more traditional space of television performers and radio performers with that growing element of sporting celebrities. And so suddenly that area that used to be quite narrow became very big. And so I feel like to do that job well, you actually had to be a pretty competent general reporter.
Now, Fiona,
as well.
have you ever seen a television series being made, been in the studio while it's being made, and how, I'm on about this, how do these sex scenes, when people just take off, full frontal nudity, men and women with all the crew standing around, and the risk of people being accused of sexual harassment, how do they overcome the people who are on it? Do they have to sign a disclaimer saying that they'll never take any action, and they sign up for it, and they're told by the producers, look, there's some certain sex scenes here, do you want the part or not? And they just, how does it work, or don't you know?
Well, I've never been on a set when a scene like that is being filmed, but I can confidently say to you that people don't turn up to work on a soap opera and suddenly get surprised by the way, Sam, today you need to do this.
Yep.
They're very aware of what's in the script, and particularly if there's any intimate behaviour, that is worked through in detail before any
Litigious
cameras.
terms, they just have to sign a disclaimer, or...
Well, people... There's varying degrees of intimacy that's going to happen on camera, and so in general, then there's no surprises. They know what they're doing. They know the angles that are being shot.
I don't wish to be risque.
You can be as risque
No,
as
I
you
don't
want.
wish to be gratuitously risque.
Go for
but
it,
if a
Sam.
man and a woman are in a sex scene and and it's sort of simulated because the woman thinks it is, and the man happens to get erect or a bit firm because it's turned him on, and just the moment gets him where he actually tries to have intercourse or sex. How does that work? Does someone say that's an occupational hazard or what?
I think professional actors would not decide that they're going to step over a boundary. They can't help if perhaps they become overly interested in the activity, but they're not going to take it to they're not going to overstep that boundary. One thing I will say is in this era of COVID, all the filming rules and regulations have changed. So I think what you'll find over the next...
Be a bit tamer.
Absolutely. I think we're almost going to have almost a sexless TV offering over the next 6 months or so, because maybe more, maybe 12 months, because you can't actually film. You need distance between your characters.
And do you notice and this is inclusivity and the way the world is evolving, but it is now mandatory for a man and a woman to have a relationship, 2 men to have a relationship, women to have a relationship, trans people to have there's got to be a whole lot of new interests in all the shows made due to the pressure of inclusivity and not being singularly obsessed with female-male relationships.
I don't see a problem with that. Does anyone else?
Well, it's just so.
I didn't understand it.
Well, a lot of the romantic scenes in all the shows that are coming on now is it seems to be mandatory that a man has to be having a relationship with a man and a woman and a man.
It's not mandatory.
No.
I would say it almost is mandatory.
Mandatory.
I would say that's almost in the name of inclusivity and the way the woke world that we're living in, that all those things have to be taken into account.
Tell me about the Logies, Sam.
Yes.
Tell me about Victoria. What was her name? Silverstead?
Yes. No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Who is Victoria? Tell me, please.
Yeah,
Sam?
she was.
Did
was
you
she
try?
A Playboy? No, I didn't. Was she a? What
Yes.
was she? A Playboy?
So
something?
she was.
Why was I? Why I went on the red carpet with her?
You were her date,
Yes, I was a date. That was arranged by.
an arranged date.
It was arranged by the station, wasn't it? I mean, how'd I meet her? But she would probably say exactly the same thing, but I had no interest in her sexually at all. And she was a very nice person, but that's just I had no interest in it. So
Why?
God, she just didn't. This
Who
sounds
was
like
the
I'm putting her down. I'm not putting her down at all. She had plenty of admirers and people eager to escort her everywhere, but I was purely just did it for the. It was an arrangement for the publicity for the show for the Logies.
So, chaps, I should explain. So, Sam squired this Playboy model from Sweden down the red carpet. You were her date at the Logies.
I was, yeah.
And I think you'd met on the footy show? I think you had met on the footy show.
Must have met us somewhere. Yeah, and I said to her on the footy show, "Oh, would you like to come to the Logies?" That's how it started, didn't it, I think?
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
you
sure.
weren't sexually attracted to her?
No.
Jeez, there's something wrong with you.
Well,
Were you into males at the time, were you?
let me
I'm just looking at pictures.
Yes.
I mean, an exceptionally attractive lady.
Yes, Don, but sometimes we're not all guided by our dick.
Oh, you.
It's not necessarily our rudder. Not necessarily. There's a huge preponderance of the time it is, but not on this occasion. Maybe because it was too contrived and too organised. We don't like. We like it to be a bit spontaneous every
Fiona?
now and again. It was sort of assumed that was going to happen. Not on her behalf. She didn't assume anything, and I didn't. It was just everyone assumed that, I was going to whisk her upstairs and give her a seeing to.
Fiona,
Or vice versa, she was going to give me a seeing to.
You're very keen on writing stories about our friend here, John Sammy Newman.
A C grader.
Oh, no, I've upgraded
no,
you. You
he's
know
been-
that. You've been upgraded.
No,
I reassessed.
Oh, well,
Yeah, because
not
last
under
time
pressure, surely.
last time you're on, you gave him a B plus.
Oh, yeah.
B
And
minus.
Michael and I didn't even rate, but this podcast is we didn't
yeah,
rate
Fiona.
on the celebrity status thing. Have we gone up in that since the podcast has taken off?
Yes. You know this is my favourite podcast.
Fiona. Yes, do you finish that question?
No, I
No,
just
we
want
want
to
to
So
know
go
what
ahead.
our ratings are.
Yep.
You were a B plus, and we
Yep.
didn't even.
A minus.
And what's the highest classification?
A plus.
A
And
plus.
who is just
Well,
give us some A
what about
pluses.
Michael and I? N.
An N plus, what?
Give us an A plus. Give us the top
dear.
of the pecking order, man,
Well,
woman,
no,
or
I'm
boy.
going to give you a general comment. This is a rating for the podcast.
No.
Oh, no.
A plus podcast.
Yeah, okay. What
Yeah,
about
but-
the individuals?
Oh, Mike.
It's a
you got him at B
Newman's
plus.
A minus.
A
right?
minus.
Well, Don, you're an A plus
A
because
plus.
you like
no,
horses.
no, I'm not in his category. I will go a C plus.
You're a
if I
C.
just register, that'd be
I'll
good
tell
enough.
you, you're a
So-
C, Donald. Don't worry
so-
about that.
So, Fiona, I just at my peril, what am I?
Oh, Michael, you're
Now be careful, Fiona, because he could storm off. He could walk out.
Oh no,
You're an
I don't want that
aging-
to
walk
happen.
out.
An aging white male supremacist. Mick, that's you and me.
That's not you.
What letter?
I can't classify you. You're beyond classification.
Oh, you're
Fiona.
doing a Michael show.
I'm going.
Fiona.
Yes, see ya.
Fiona, give us some A. Give us
I'm
the-
in boo.
Fiona, I've got to go. No, as much as I love chatting to you, I have a job that pays me, unlike this one. And I've got to go and explore it.
All right, Mick. Well, bloody nice to see you. And
And-
I'm sorry we couldn't have got Alice Costa on, but Fiona's on here. God, he nearly tore me a new one. He said, "Get Alice Costa on."
I did not say
No,
that.
you did not. Now, Fiona.
Gotta
No
go to
fighting. And
confession.
can I just say,
And he's made up with Rex. Thanks to you, they've had several dinner engagements.
You
and-
haven't had Rex and I in the paper for probably 2 weeks.
Well, it's
would
gonna-
you like me to rectify
No.
that?
No,
I can
would-
bring you together. I want a photo of the two of you
Rex is
together.
going to have a hip operation too.
I was on the radio
he's-
with Rex last Saturday night on 3AW.
I love Rex's 3AW
Interview.
show. His footy nightline. I love that.
yeah,
It's good,
he
isn't
did
it?
get the
Produced
attention
by
of the
Dylan
producer.
Buckley.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Dylan, young Dylan.
Bye, Mike. Good to see you.
Fiona, give us the Australian people who are.
His Ugg boots.
I like your Ugg boots.
Give us the Australian people, not the overseas people who are A pluses at the minute.
Oh, the Australian people.
Yep.
Look, I think A pluses in Australia.
Well,
Look,
who's-
in Melbourne, I'll talk to you about Melbourne.
Yes, Melbourne.
Shane Warne, without question. Warney could
Oh, yeah.
sell anything, anywhere, anytime. TV, radio, books, you name it.
Yep.
People are interested in him.
Absolutely.
The Judds, they sell. You know, people are fascinated by what they're doing.
People on the television.
Yeah, they're on TV.
No, well, but are they?
Yep.
Shane's not on television.
He's
Oh no, but all right, yeah, but I mean the career.
Oh, you want
people.
career people?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and Eddie. You can't go
Eddie,
past
yep.
Eddie Maguire.
No, you can't.
He really is. And the other one who I think is without question growing actually in his, I guess his power in terms of being a TV performer is Hamish Blake. He's
Right.
and Hamish
Hamish
just.
and Andy?
Well, probably Hamish by himself.
Yep.
And that's not in any way,
I know.
being negative
Very
towards
good men,
Andy.
both of them.
But Hamish certainly has. Hamish is very interesting because Hamish is absolutely loved by all demographics. The younger and the older demographic really, they relate to him and they find him very funny, which makes him very valuable to
I'm not,
TV.
Not sure if you wrote it, but maybe you did. They said that there's a likelihood that Shane Crawford is coming back with.
I did write that. Yes.
Yes, I think you did.
Yes.
Because coming back with a footy show and maybe James Hurd.
Yes.
How did you think that'd go? And where's Shane? Is he a pluser or A or?
Shane's fantastic. I think Shane is underused by Channel 9 and I think he is.
So they're about to use him in a footy show sort of thing, aren't they?
So the show that Shane Crawford is hosting for Channel 9 is called Full Time. It's not on the main channel. It's actually on the 9 Now digital channel, a streaming channel, and it's going to be at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. And the whole idea is it's half an hour of reviewing the round. Just right after the round is finished.
It'll be to do with the people who provide the content, won't it? Because if Shane was going to do it and do it with James Hurd, producing it is the production and the content is the most important thing as opposed to doing it off the top of your head and ad-libbing it, which is not their forte, both of them.
Well, it's so James has been asked to be a regular panellist with Shane.
But he'd be window dressing, wouldn't he?
Shane
No,
Crawford
he
and James Hurd
James
are
Hurd
really great together. They are very they
Yes.
both love football, played
Yes.
it obviously at the highest level,
Yes.
and they still both love the game and they
Yes.
like talking about it, and they're very, very good together. I think you're underestimating
No,
what they
I'm not,
could be
not on the
together.
contrary, not underestimating them at all. But if you're going to speak about football, you've got to have some sort of sense of ad-libbing
Yes.
and go in different directions at the drop of a hat, if you'll pardon the cliche. It'll be about content that is shown to them and they'll discuss it.
And talk off it, absolutely.
yes, that's
But
right.
it's
So
a
how
fairly
will they
tight
get-
window. It's going to be, a half an hour show. As I said, it's on
Which
a
will end
streaming
up
service.
being about 12, 13 minutes after the ads.
So it's similar
Well, it will,
to
won't it?
yeah.
so it's similar to Football Inquest or
Football Inquest, Donald. That's
That was
50 years ago.
I understand, but it came on at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock,
Yes.
straight after the 6 o'clock. I think
Yes,
it was.
it did.
Went for half an hour. They had panelists discussing
You wouldn't remember
the
it.
game, but today, how would they get footage if it's Channel 9 because the footage is controlled by 7?
No, but there's
You
certain
can talk
amount
off
that
it.
is. Yes, there's
Yeah.
certain
What?
amount that you're allowed to show in the name of news
Yes.
interest.
So it's just the two of them talking. They don't have a reporter from each game.
I don't know.
They have Ayrton Woolley is going to be, he's a Channel 9 sports reporter, so he's going to be on the
Yes.
panel. Well, he and Shane are the two regulars on the show, and then there'll be that third seat being filled each week.
Maybe by James Hurd, who hasn't
Hopefully-
committed or something.
That's
has he?
correct. He's been asked. He hasn't committed.
So the last footy show they had, the hybrid footy show with
Yes, with
Oh,
Anthony Lehman and Nerily Meadows,
and
Dylan Alcott,
yes,
and
well done. You're going.
Brendan Favola. I feel like this is a test. Do I get a stamp or
No,
something at the end of this?
But okay, so that was left to the devices of the people who are on it to be the stars and run it, and wasn't content oriented, and of course lasted 5-6 weeks. So they won't want to make that mistake again, will they? The station.
No, they won't. But also, I do need to point out that this is not going to be a show on the main channel. It is sitting on the 9 Now service. So it's a far less high risk venture. It's
Good.
so
they're
much,
dipping a toe in the water
exactly,
with a view
it's-
to bigger and better things.
And it's certainly a show that they are going to be able, because it sits on the 9 Now service, it's going to be given a lot of leeway to find its feet. It's
Good.
not something that you put on at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night and
hope it goes bang.
If you put something on at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night on the main channel and it doesn't work, it's dead it's dead by the first ad
Like
break.
the last footy show they did.
Sadly, yeah.
So you were a bit mischievous. I
Oh,
think.
what?
No, you were a bit mischievous. You said Toby Mitchell, did you not? Or was this someone else said this?
Oh, that
All
wasn't.
right,
Go on.
Alice Costa said that. I'm very sorry.
No,
Well, she
mischievous.
was mischievous. She said that Toby Mitchell, who I've asked to come on several times, knocked us back or didn't turn up one day. Cancelled, yes. That is not the case. I see Toby Mitchell occasionally. I'd love to have Toby Mitchell on here, and me knowing Toby Mitchell doesn't mean that I'm condone anything that he's on about, but I see him for who he is in various restaurants and say, why don't you come on and discuss your very, very interesting life? And he's never not turned up or knocked us back. He just hasn't decided to come on yet.
Well, I look forward to the day that he does decide
Yes.
to come on, because one thing I've loved about this podcast, Don knows that I listen all the time. I enjoy the fact that you get different people to come into the studio and chat. I think that's a really great part of this show.
Well, that's what we try and go on.
Now, this is going to bore you shitless, but anyway, you might learn something.
Horses?
Well, you got it in one.
Oh, go
Now-
ahead.
Now, Fiona, I read a column you did on Chautauqua. Before Christmas, I was sitting in my fish and chip shop on a Sunday, and I thought, this girl knows something about horses. Then I watched just a couple of things you alluded to, which, you've got to know about. You didn't come out and say certain things. Then I watched a show on the Racing Channel about Chautauqua, Rob Gaylard, and Sorry, I don't know the girl who's going to ride.
Her name's Casey Bruce.
Casey Bruce, she was a jockey. They've got Chautauqua, and I picked up a couple of things there. Now, do you think that Chautauqua is going to make a hack, because what I picked up from your column and from what they were saying, he's got problems. Now, he had problems as a racehorse, and everything that's good is a little schizo. Okay, it's boring you, but is he going to find another life as a hack, a show hack?
They're putting a lot of work into him. So Sam Chautauqua was Australia's...
Is that a man or a woman?
A gelding, in fact.
It's a horse.
A horse.
Oh, holy mackerel.
You don't know who Chautauqua is?
I thought we were talking about a person. You're talking about whether a horse is going to be a star in a show, are you?
No, I can't. We better...
Like Lassie.
You know, I can't believe this. He doesn't know who Chautauqua is.
Oh, sorry about that, Don.
A champion sprinter, unbelievable, a brilliant sprinter that was very...
An athlete?
World champion sprinter.
It was unbelievable.
An athlete?
He was a
real
hugely
athlete.
athletic horse.
Oh, Don, don't be stupid. Horses can't be athletes. I've told you
I
that.
said athletic. I'm
didn't.
using it as an adjective.
Go ahead, Chautauqua. What about it?
Okay, so Chautauqua has retired from the racetrack. He made the decision pretty much himself because he refused to jump from the barrier, and so had gone sour and was not going to race anymore, and they retired him. He's now been given to, or entrusted to Casey Bruce
And Rob Gaillard.
to basically retrain and see if he can find an aptitude for being a show hack. So that's when horses are taken to agricultural shows and they're ridden under saddle.
It's like a beauty parade, John. It's very subjective. It's somebody's opinion as to whether the horse is good or whatever. But anyway, go on.
And
Before they're beaten to death and put into a knackery.
Quite the opposite. But he came off the track as a very fit racehorse. He's having to be retrained to be a calmer animal and to be a softer animal, and also his body shape has to change to get him into the show ring. He's got to change his top line. He's got to develop his hindquarters and just be a bit more balanced hindquarters to his shoulders. It's true, and also his head and his neck have to come down and round. Basically, you've got to round him out.
Don used to select his wives on that basis.
Anyway, what do I think? I think there's a long way to go.
Can I say something?
Yes.
He came off a horse truck, and this is a pretty basic thing. Will he go into a horse float to get to the show? Because he can come off a truck, but I don't know whether he'll go on or come off a float.
When I was out at the farm a couple of months ago, he would not go into a float. He was not
Really?
interested
Well,
in
they
being
got
in a little
trouble.
float. But they could certainly, move him around on a transport. So when he went up to his
With
new
a cattle
home,
prod or something.
No, Sam, no. But no. But so to move him to the farm that he's at now, he was popped on a transport to take him up there. I think he's going to look great under saddle, but whether or not he's going to be showy enough under saddle to perform at a royal show.
And this is going to be a television show, is it?
I will write about it. I will write about it. There already is a show based on the retraining of former
Chautauqua
racehorses.
went for half an hour. It's just his initial. This is where I picked it up. If you listen to me, Fiona did a story. Then I saw it on 78, Channel 78, the racing channel of Chautauqua out at Rob Gaillard's farm, and how he initially. And I thought, this horse is going to be interesting because I don't think he'll get to the show.
I think he will, but I don't think I reckon they are going to be very cautious as to how fast they take him to a show. They're not going to take him to a show if he's going to blow up and be a handful.
John, these horses, when they go to a show, there's a lot of things. At some hack shows, there's not, but the agricultural shows, there's side shows. There's a lot of distractions going on. So whether this horse can handle everything else, it's hard enough with show jumpers going to one of these Aggie shows, but a hack is a little bit different.
So it's gelded, is it?
It's gelded, he's gelded, but he is very highly strung.
So he wouldn't sniff pheromones and things in the air, and that would distract him now because he has no interest.
No, there's other distractions. Wood chopping, side shows, merry-go-rounds.
But also ponies, just all the other horses working around you at the same time. Sam, you should come. Actually,
He
next
did come
time,
to a show jumping.
Did he?
Yeah.
Tell me this story.
Oh, tell him this.
No.
Okay, I'll tell you. You might relate to this. Now, you might relate to
This
this.
will be bullshit. You listen to this.
Okay, we go to Boneo Park. He
Yep.
said, I'd love to come to so I said, righto, there's one down at Boneo Park out the back of Rosebud.
I didn't say I'd love to. He said, why don't you come down to Boneo Park and watch me show jump? And I said, I'd love to. There you are. So it was an invitation.
So down he comes. And so we sit there and I try to explain. Tony Jewell was with us, and I explained to... Anyway, I had to go out, and it was a speed contest. I was involved in the speed event, and so I had to go away, leave him, and so I've saddled the horse, I've prepared, I've warmed the horse up in the practice ring, so I'm psyched, ready to go, because I wanted to have a go. I worked out my course, I was going to cut here, and I was going to do whatever. And I was in another zone. As I came through, you go into another zone because it's a dangerous sport and I wanted to do well. I get out in the middle of the ring, and now listen, there is etiquette. The judge sits in the box and the only other people in the centre of the ring are the rail stewards who pick up the rails. Buggerlugs is over in the middle of the ring. I don't know how he got out there, asking me to smile, filming what I was doing prior to me going and jumping this course. Now,
did you not realise that this was
Fiona,
a competition?
Don't be so gullible, please. Fiona, do you think a man, me, who went out there would suddenly grab a camera phone, rush onto the middle of the thing? Don, who looked like a pox doctor's clerk, he had riding spurs on, he had jodhpurs, he had a red tunic, he had a silly little cap on there, and God knows what he was doing to the horse around the back of the floats before it was his turn to get on, but the horse was all frothing at the mouth and all bit edgy. So the woman, the lady marshal, said, why don't you take a film of Don riding, because he would like that? And I said, yeah, sure. And she said, yes. Go through this gate here now, wait for the next contestant to leave, and then go on and we'll call Don on. So I said, oh, all right, where can I stand? She said, don't stand anymore. You don't go out there, you might get in the way. But so I go out there, and out he comes. He's like he's proud as a dog with a tin dick. So out he comes, bouncing up and down on the horse, and the horse is tossing its head round. So I start the camera phone, and I do it, and he sees me, and he goes, oh, and the horse looks at me, and he looks at me. He misses the first jump. He knocks the hurdle over, and he comes round, and the horse is going, and Don's jumping up and down, belting his agates on top of the saddle there because he'd lost his rhythm. And the woman said, are you getting it? I said, yeah, I've got a lot of Don scowling here, and the horse is looking at me. And it's so anyhow, he finishes up, and I turned the phone off, and the woman said, did you get what I want? I said, well, I got what I wanted. I'm not sure if it was what Don wanted. So he rides the horse round the back, and he gets off. Well, did he tear in me and you? And he said, what the fuck are you doing out there? He said, don't you know that this is over? I said, Don, please. The woman said you would appreciate having a movie taken of you. I'm not sure why, because you fucked up just about every hurdle that you jumped over. Well, you put me off. I said, well, God, I didn't put the horse off. The horse couldn't take its eyes off me. So that was my day at the races with Don, trying to do the right thing, being pushed out there by the lady marshal, and all I got was the most abuse I've ever received trying to do the right thing. That was him. And he went and he belted the living suitcase out of the horse with the whip, and how he got it into the... No, he didn't do that.
I was going to say, I don't believe that, but I'm surprised he didn't come after you with a crop, because you...
Well, I was only trying to give my friend a video of him at the Great Boneo show jumping trials, and all I got was a bloody cry. Seriously, you'd think I'd almost murdered someone. So anyhow, so
you're not going back to Boneo Park?
I'll go.
Come with me. You can drive me down. I want you to drive me down in your Lamborghini to see Don jump next time.
In the Lamborghini?
Yes.
Okay, Fiona, that sounds like a date. How am I going? Now, Fiona.
I'll do the videoing of Don.
You do it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
You drive, I'll
she
video.
knows where to stand, not in the centre of the ring.
I stood where the woman told me to stand. She said, don't step out near the barriers. I thought you were going to jump over me at one stage. The horse made a beeline for me. Fiona. Now,
Yes,
I see.
Sam.
Have we gone to the well too often with Big Brother? Is there an attraction to watch Big Brother?
Well,
these days?
the show launched last night, and it was the
Did
number
it?
one entertainment show of
It
the
was
evening.
number one.
Yeah, it's there's definitely
I see.
a
So
curiosity factor. Now, whether or not those people are going to be back, tonight,
And so
Wednesday
who's on
night,
Big? So I didn't see it, didn't catch it. Who's on Big Brother?
a whole lot of people who none of us have ever heard of before. They're just
That's my
randoms.
point.
Yes.
So why are people interested in that?
I think there's.
Good on them if they are, but why?
With this, there's definitely a curiosity factor because people know of the format, but they haven't seen the format for a number of years here in Australia. So I think, people have switched on to just see if they are interested in what the show looks like now.
Tell you what.
And reality TV sells because reality
Does it?
TV is what every network has been investing in for the past 20 years. And it still is. It still is the market leader. It's not it used to be a cheap option of television. It's not anymore. The formats are very expensive to buy, and actually filming is expensive these days. Full stop. But it does over the past few years. Certainly, the return on investment for a network has probably been better off reality TV shows, whether that's something like The Block or The Voice. X Factor, Australian Idol, going back in time, Big Brother, than Australian drama.
All right, well, give us something we can hang our hat on as you leave. Look, it's something you haven't announced on all the other mediums you've been on, the paper and 3AW. Leave us with something. You never came good with Paul Stoddart. You were going to get us an interview.
Hey.
You were, when the Grand Prix, before it got
said-
cancelled, you said,
You
I'll
were
get
going to
Paul.
give me a list of celebrities to interview
Yeah.
too. That hasn't come forward.
Yeah, the 007, James Bond.
Can I just say, there is a
Bond.
person here who I know that we're not allowed to refer to,
Who?
the Invisible Man.
Mick? No, oh, yeah, Rod, yeah. Rod,
So I think he is better in a better position to answer those questions than I am. But who?
What did me specifically? Just us.
But Don, I have ideas.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bring them forward.
I will.
Good.
I really would like to hear you interview David Parkin. Is one I want to hear.
David-
I put him up. And he knocked him back.
Why?
What?
What a disgraceful thing that is, Don, to say. I didn't knock him back. I didn't knock him, but you said...
Who else? Give me another one, Fiona. I've got knocked back on that one.
Brendan Favola.
Write it down.
Brendan Favola, have a listen to this. Brendan Favola's crew asked me to do a... it's not called Skype. What's the new term?
Zoom.
Zoom. Said, could they do a Zoom thing asked me about... This is a fortnight ago. Asked me to do a Zoom thing about what I've been doing during the lockdown, like it was a thing. So I had no idea how Zoom worked. So I said, I'll do the Zoom thing if you can. So I get up on the day it was meant to be on, and I get a text saying, no, sorry, Brendan's can't do it today. And it was, so that was it. So I'm just wondering why they didn't go on with it at all. Not that I could give a stuff, incidentally.
He would be a great chat. You should get him. I think you'd both enjoy speaking to him because he does have some extraordinary stories to tell. Sam, are you missing the footy show? Because you're supposed to be doing the Sunday footy show, and I've been loving the segments that you're doing, long story short.
Well, tomorrow we're filming 4 of them in this very warehouse tomorrow for the Sunday footy show. I'm not missing anything about the football at all, including the footy show or anything to do with it. But very happy to do some filming tomorrow with 4 specific guests who I won't mention who they are. But we're doing it tomorrow in here about all things maybe not to do with football, but people who are football oriented. And I was going to say one other thing about I can't think of Brendan Favola. Oh, no, David Parkin. Don, I said that I knocked David Parkin back. Don said that David Parkin had a blueprint about football and how it had changed over the years. And I said, good, has he got any ideas about how we could change it for the better? And he said, no. And I said, well, why would we have him on to speak about his idea about football if he hasn't given any remedies? It's no good saying it's no good, but how would you fix it? And I said, and you said, Don, yes, that's a fair point.
It was a fair point, and I rang him, and now he's got a few answers to those questions
Well,
that he
there
raised.
we are. So there we are.
So this has become an editorial meeting. I love it. This is great.
Oh, he said I knocked him back. It's no good saying the
This is how we
football's
go on all the time, Fiona.
no good saying football's no good unless you have an idea of how you might fix it. And you said, quite right, he hasn't got any ideas how to fix it.
So
said,
I got on the phone and asked, he said, yes, I have.
Good. Well, he will come on.
Okay, I have a very
Hopefully.
personal question to ask you, Sam.
Thank you.
Last week you spoke about that you had a facelift.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes.
Yep.
And had looked like a Manx cat.
Yeah, Manx cat. Yep. That's just a humorous aside.
Yes,
Yep.
which I thought was very funny, and
The surgeon wouldn't be happy.
no, but I thought
that.
it was a very funny joke. But I wanted to know, you're great mates with Shane Warne. Shane
Yes.
is a hair man.
Yes.
He's had hair replacement. I've admired your hair for a long time, and I feel like you have very young hair.
My hair?
Your hair.
Yes.
You have young hair.
Young hair. Yes. Yes, young hair.
Yes, young hair. Have you had any hair replacement or treatment over the years?
Never any. This is my hair. I had it. You might remember when Craig Hutchison started on the Footy Show as a joke. I had it completely denuded and shaved off, so you could see that I had. If you were paying attention, not that I'm saying you wouldn't be, but when you cut all your hair off and have it absolutely bald like Don's, it won't grow back if you don't have your own hair. So this is my own hair, and I've never ever worn glasses ever for any reason. I can read anything, any small print. I can see into the distance. I don't know why it is that I don't wear glasses or my eyesight's perfect, but at my age it is. And people say, oh, you wear contact lenses. I'm happy to say it's my own.
You know why you can look at it? Because you got one eye that's short-sighted and the other is long-sighted.
That is correct, Donald.
And I have the same.
That is correct. So I don't wear glasses, and this is my hair, but that's the only thing about me that's not false. The rest of me is complete. Now, teeth I've had capped. I've had everything else is manufactured on me, including my brain, my mind, my physique. I've had everything done to me. Pectorals, I've had the lot done.
What?
No, I haven't. I'm just joking. I have had my face rearranged. I thought out a necessity because a bloke punched me at my doorstep.
Yeah.
I won't even go on with any of my personal stories because they created a furor. But I'd be happy to tell you about how I was punched at my doorstep. And I thought, well, now that I've
think I was there
now
a few
that I've
hours
been
after
punched,
it
I may
happened.
as well, seeing as the plastic surgeon had to put my nose back in front of my eyes, in between my eyes, I'll have a bit more done. So I did.
You know, we make a big deal about the some of the more extreme things that have happened in your life over the years. But actually, I was thinking about it. You've only had a couple of unusual things that have happened. There haven't been that many.
You're joking. Do you want to tell us about the... Yeah, what about the ute when you
No, they're
What was the ute?
No, they're not. They're just no. They're not even.
What about
interesting.
swinging over the boat out in the ocean, the
Yes.
Pacific Ocean?
Yeah, no,
Actually, tell us that story because you tried to ask that question last week and you didn't answer it. So, Don, please ask the question again.
John?
Well, these are just things that you do when you're.
Really?
When you're confident.
Really? When you're confident?
And had a few drinks.
So just to set the so
only
were you
drinks?
two holidaying together?
No. This is a football trip.
Our football club went on a sea cruise on the Himalaya or I think it was called the Himalaya. I'm not
The
sure.
Oriana, P&O, Oriana, one of those.
Well, Don knows the story, but wherever. We were out in the middle of the Pacific on the way to Fiji. I don't know where we were on the way to. And Bill Goggin, who was the captain of the side, we had had a few drinks, and for some reason we were on F deck, which is under the water almost. But that's where they used to put all the footballers away from the people who'd paid good money, so that we didn't annoy them. So we're up on the top deck one day, and he said. Some reason he said, I'll beat you down the stairs. I'm getting in the lift to go down to F deck. I said, well, why are you getting in the lift? He said, it's quicker to run down the stairs. I said, he said, well, you go down the stairs and I'll get in the lift. So he got in the lift and I thought, well, I won't worry about the stairs. I swung outside
Can you
the
believe?
rail.
Can you believe this?
And swung into the B deck, and then I swung out of B deck and swung into C deck, and I did that down until the water got to about where we were, and I was in the room, and he said, "Geez, you got down the stairs quickly." I said, "No, I didn't go down the stairs. I swung outside the ship," which I did. And that bloke, I told a couple of people that, people who even weren't anything to do with the football club, they said, "You're not serious, are you?" And I said, yeah. I said, "Why is that? That's pretty dangerous." I said, "Pretty dangerous it is, but you're amazing how much courage you get when you have a few drinks." So out I swung down the ship. And the bloke said, "If you'd fallen over," he said, "takes us 10 miles to stop the ship and turn it around and come and get you." I said, "Yes, well, I didn't work that out at the time because when the booze is in, the brain's out." But so I'm still here.
You were
So
the
I don't know,
Tarzan of the
that's-
seas, by the sounds of it. You were the Tarzan of the seas.
Yes, Tarzan, and we had Jane down in the we had Jane down in the cabin in the F deck, and cheetah. No, we were smelling like cheetah.
Cheetah was a chip, wasn't it? No, that was.
No, it wasn't a chimp. It was a cheetah. Was
Cheetah.
It was a cheetah, wasn't it?
No, Cheetah was the chimp. It was his mate, wasn't it?
Cheetah wasn't a
Tarzan
chimp.
Tarzan had a chimp, didn't he?
No, cheetah was a bloody cheetah. It was
I
a
thought Cheetah
cat.
was on Wonder
That's
Woman.
what I thought. Who was the monkey? Tarzan and his monkey and Jane.
Tarzan. Cheetah was a cheetah, wasn't it? Anyhow, Fiona.
Sam.
Any other final announcements? Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank
not
you
sure-
for the invitation.
Yeah,
it's
but-
lovely.
Was the monkey.
Oh, well, there you go. Fancy
We-
calling a
we've
monk
learned
a
something.
cheetah. Yeah, no, that's
He was
right.
king of the gorillas, wasn't he?
King of the-
Tarzan. Ooh, used to beat his chest.
How'd he go, Don? Whoa! Tarzan, king of the apes.
That's right, king of the apes.
That's it. We're saying goodbye to Daddy Cool.